Global Risk Report 2022 presents the result of latest Global Risk Perception Survey, commonly known as GRPS, followed by an analysis of key risks emanating from current economic, societal, environmental, and technological tensions. With that being said, we will be examining on some of the findings of Risk Report 2022 by World Economic Forum. There were strategic partners in compiling this report, such as Zurich Insurance Group, as well as academic advisors, namely National University of Singapore, NUS, University of Oxford, and University of Pennsylvania. There are summary of the findings they have listed here. Accordingly, we can note that vaccination rate in poorest 52 countries denoting as only 6%, whereas 97% public debt to GDP ratio has been already recorded as of 2020. Increase in extreme poverty projections have been recorded as 51 million. Also, 197 countries aligned on the Glasgow Climate Pact. Among experts, they have noted that 84% are worried over or concerned about the world economic and social context. Disparities in progress on vaccination are creating a divergent economic recovery that risks compounding pre-existing social cleavages and geopolitical tensions. Global Risk Perception Survey, known as GRPS, believe the world will follow a fractured trajectory in the medium term, increasingly separating relative winners from losers of COVID. By the time the GRPS was conducted, only 11% believed the global recovery would accelerate over the next 3 years. As this figure indicates, this demonstrates outlook for the world over the next 3 years. As shown here, almost 42% of the respondents have noted that consistently volatile context with multiple surprises, whereas only approximately 11% are having positive scenario towards world outlook. This manifests the world view in a way how the respondents feel about outlook for the world. Only 3.7 is optimistic about, or the feeling optimistic about the world outlook. Almost 85% are worried or concerned about the outlook of the world. GRPS respondents were either concerned or worried about the outlook. As per the figure, lack of optimism could create a vicious cycle of disillusion and social unrest. World continues to grapple with the effect of COVID on public health. At the start of 2022, 5.4 million deaths from COVID had been reported globally, out of 282 million confirmed cases. Moreover, significant proportion of those infected by COVID have long-lasting symptoms. Some 10% show persistent ill health 12 weeks after having the disease. COVID crisis has also had extensive collateral health impacts, partly because the other diseases were deprioritized. Pandemic led to an additional 53 million cases of major depression globally. Global economic recovery from the recession caused by responses to the COVID pandemic continues but is slowing. After a contraction of 3.1% in 2020, global economic growth is expected to reach 5.9 in 21 and slow to 4.9 in 2022. By 2024, global economy is projected to be 2.3% smaller than it would have been without the pandemic. Sovereign debt has spiked because of the pandemic. Government debt globally increased by 13% to 97% of GDP as of 2020. As this figure demonstrates, this identifies the most severe risks on a global scale over the next 10 years. Surprisingly, it could note that all the top three positions have been secured by environment related global severe risks. To name a few, they can be identified as climate action failure, extreme weather, and also biodiversity loss. There comes societal risks, namely social cohesion erosion, livelihood crisis, and infectious diseases. Among the top 10 risks, there's one and only economic related risk, which could be themed as debt crisis. Greater prevalence of COVID in low vaccination countries than in high vaccination ones will weigh on worker availability and productivity, disrupt supply chains, and weaken consumption. Although employment is approaching pre pandemic levels in many advanced economies, globally, job recovery from COVID is lagging the economic recovery. In the perception of erosion of social cohesion, they have noted this is the risk that has worsened the most globally since the start of pandemic. According to the report for GRPS, it is perceived as a critical threat to the world across all time spans, short, medium, and long term, and is seen as among the most potentially damaging for the next 10 years. In 31 out of 124 countries surveyed in the Executive Opinion Survey, known as EOS, including Argentina, France, Germany, Mexico, and South Africa, Among the G20, social cohesion erosion was seen as top 10 short-term threat to their countries. Another aspect is, as recorded by Global Risk Survey, is geopolitical tensions. Widening geopolitical fractures risk being another force for global divergence. Competition between US and China is increasing. China's growing military powers is changing the balance of power in the Western Pacific. Another aspect of the report is the report on risk of climate action failure. 2021 UN Climate Change Conference, known as COP26, succeeded in getting 197 countries to align on the Glasgow Climate Pact and other landmark pledges. But even these new climate commitments are expected to miss the 1.5 Celsius goal established in 2016 in Paris Climate Agreement and increase the risk from a disorderly climate transition. This reveals outcomes of COP26 and COP15. Key pledges achieved at COP26 could be named those pledges as India pledge to reach net zero emissions by 2070 and announce a target of 50% renewable energy by 2030. 46 countries pledged to transition from coal to clean power by 2040. 104 countries pledged to a 30% cut in methane emissions by 2030. Methane accounts for 30% of historical global warming. Final pledge, as they have given, is 141 countries that account for 91% of the world's forest pledged to end deforestation by 2030. 2021 conference of the parties for the Convention on Biological Diversity, known as COP15, held in Kunming, China, resulted in strong declarations for safeguarding life on Earth. With that, we will be concluding the presentation. For more of this kind of videos and presentations, kindly Google Gayan Nayanajith. Thanks for watching.